Village of Lincoln Heights regular council meeting is now in session. Today's date is Monday, June 26, 2023. The time is 7:48. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber. No response. Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Present.
Councilman Durance Daniels. No response. Councilwoman Tanya Key.
Present.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell.
Present.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Present.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Present.
Mayor, we have 5 who are present, 2 who are absent. Councilwoman Phyllis Baber did notify the office that she wasn't feeling well and asked to be excused. And Councilman Durance Daniels notified the office and said that he is going to be running late.
Okay, thank you.
For the record.
Motion to excuse Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Present. Yes. Sorry.
Councilwoman Tanya Key.
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass to excuse Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Thank you. The prayer will be given by Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity for all of us to go to the throne of God. Would you bow your head before the Almighty? As he sits on top and he looks down at what we are doing, I ask that he continue to pour into us what we need for the business of the Village of Lincoln Heights that will be pleasing in his eyes. Father, watch over those that are on their way grieving or sick. Thank you for your kindness and your mercy that you show us every day. And that today, as every day, is a good day to have a good day because we stand and you stand with us. In your name I say amen.
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 Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May the record show that Councilman Daniels is in attendance.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Okay. Motion order for the acceptance of the agenda,
So moved.
Second.
and that would be the regular consent and supplemental, which it doesn't look like we have any supplemental, but it is listed on the agenda. So it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Motion order for the filing of the journal for the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from June 12th, regular council meeting minutes from June 12th, and special council meeting minutes from June 15th, with any necessary corrections for any of those listed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, announcements. Councilman Daniels?
No announcements at this time.
Thank you. All righty. Councilwoman Childs Jeter?
Well, we do have an opportunity for the residents or citizens of the Village of Lincoln Heights to get involved in an opportunity coming up, and you will get more information about that later. Has to do with Lincoln Heights Day.
All right.
And Mayor, before I move on, we set a date to have that Respect My Block?
Yes, it's going to be July the 11th, and that is on a Tuesday. So not this upcoming Tuesday, which will be the 4th of July, but the following Tuesday. And that, and the time is, I believe, 6 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're looking for the residents to come out to Respect My Block. The topic will be Lincoln Heights Day and volunteers.
Repeat that. Sorry, madam. Just repeat that date one more time.
July the 11th, the second Tuesday in July at 6 p.m. right here. Come on out and let's all get this thing going.
All right. Okay. All right. Councilwoman Key?
Thank
any
you, Mayor. Economic Development meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 3rd at 6:30 p.m.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I have no announcements, Mayor.
Okay. Councilwoman Mitchell?
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to invite everybody to come out to Theater in the Park with Shakespeare. Comedy of Errors is the play on July 15th from 7 to 9 at Serenity Park.
Okay. Ms. Mitchell, are they to bring their own chairs?
Bring your own chair or blanket. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. I don't have any announcements. Public Works Director, do you have any announcements?
No announcements.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chris Williams. All right, okay. All right, then we're going to go straight into our speaker for this evening. We have Miss Holly Fiddler, who is the head of Bethany School. Hello, Miss Fiddler, and would you, we will be glad to hear from you before you start your presentation.
Hello, and thank you, Mayor, for inviting me. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself as a newer resident of the Cincinnati area, as well as the head of Bethany School. As many of you may be familiar with Bethany School, I know that there are so many people who are not. And my goal as the new head is to ensure that as many people know about what we have to offer as possible. As I've been sharing, I am sort of one of these, what they call boomerang people, because I'm from Ohio. I have gone away, and I have come back. And I've come back to be of service and find that the Bethany School community is a place of service and a place of learning and growth for all of our children, and certainly want to be in partnership with the Village of Lincoln Heights, want to be in partnership with some of the other ministries, such as the St. Monica Center that is here, and knowing the history of Lincoln Heights, really wanting our children to know about where they are and where they are placed, such that one day they too will have moments to have other experiences, but then come back and work to build and work to find their place and their contributions to our society. So that's part of why I am here, to share a little bit about Bethany School today and looking ahead to the future. Bethany School has been here for 125 years, and we're going to be celebrating this entire year the 125th anniversary with our Society of the Transfiguration Ministry partners. So definitely want to keep Lincoln Heights residents in the loop on those activities, and just really thrilled to be able to look ahead for not only our mission, which I'll share in the presentation, but also just a vision of what a place and a people who care about others across differences, and in particular having our population of people of color, and wanting to ensure that our children are educated in a way that they see themselves, and they see themselves into the future and working in our communities. But also knowing that we are a faith-based community, and that means that we are inclusive at Bethany School. And that's also something that is important in the landscape of what I'm understanding about where we are, to say that that is one of our values. And that means that these areas that are close by and nearby, there are children and families not only to attend Bethany School, but to be in partnership with. We are looking for teachers. We are looking for staff members. So in all of the ways that we can be a part of our greater community, that's what we're hoping to do.
Okay, all right.
So this image is of our 8th graders. So we are a K through 8 school, and so many of our students go through from kindergarten to 8th grade. And this year was a wonderful year coming out of COVID and coming out of a lot of restrictions about gathering and being together. For us to be in the Chapel of the Transfiguration to celebrate their accomplishments. All of our 8th graders go to the high schools of their choices. And one of the things that we do throughout the course of the year is we talk about what that means and why is that your choice. And we help them to prioritize the places where they belong and that fit for them and their families. Our mission at Bethany School is to be a community where all members can thrive as learners. And so we are all learners. It's an important piece of the ethos and of what we're trying to do is to be learners. Growing and developing academically, socially, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. A whole child approach is the approach that has been a part of the Bethany School reputation for many years, and we intend to continue that, where students experience and learn respect, responsibility, and an appreciation for diversity. And again, this is sort of their learning ground of what it means to be in community and to live in community, and where academic excellence is achieved in a Christian environment. Our Episcopal identity comes from the Sisters of the Transfiguration. So in 1898, the school began as Bethany Home for infants, really. And the sisters would take in infants, and ultimately, year after year, there was a need, sort of in the post-industrial revolution era, for folks to get out into the country, to get fresh air, to be in nature. And some of those threads are still a part of what we do today. If you come to our campus and see it, there is a lot of time and a lot of places where children can go to be in nature, to experience getting that fresh air, getting that exercise, the things that we know children need to learn and grow. We are a member of the National Association of Episcopal Schools, and this quote comes from the Principles of Good Practice. Episcopal schools take seriously their calling to strive for justice and peace among all people and respect the dignity of every human being. And this is the work that begins in dramatic play with kindergartners and continues in the literature selections that we choose, but also in helping to reduce food waste and to be aware of recycling and composting. And these are initiatives that are ongoing at Bethany School. So you can see some of this from the photos. We have 5 tenets, and these tenets are really what we hope that Bethany School students take with them along their journey. We hope that they take with them a love for learning. We hope that they not only understand and are able to promote a joyful community for themselves, but to see that in other places. We have a tenet that is faith by choice, that we understand the range of our students may be people who identify as Episcopalian, or may not, may be people who identify as Christian or may not. Some folks who are in different places along their faith journeys. And to have faith by choice really means that we understand that there is a spiritual aspect to each person, and each person is on their journey. We hope to guide and to help open up thinking about spirituality. Respect for people in the world. So again, this idea that we have to care for each other and we have to care for our physical environment. We have to care for creation. And we have 2 new academic buildings that have recently been certified LEED Platinum, which means that they really are some of the most energy efficient buildings, school buildings in the Midwest. There are so many elements that go into this certification. It's not only about the physical plant, but it's also about the work that we do as educators to ensure that our children are looking ahead to a sustainable future. And finally, having a strong character, and our work really is to build strong character. What does it mean to be honest and trustworthy? And do you have the opportunities to play that out? And what does that look like? At Bethany School, every day, there are opportunities for children to build character and to know and be in community. So these are just some images that I'll talk through because, again, there's a lot of what I've already said in them. The first image is an artwork of Rosa Parks that our 8th grade students really had to envision and piece together. And so there's this intersection of what they're learning about history, but also how they're expressing what they're learning about history. Our lunch program, again, has been under this food waste initiative where we have been able to cut our food waste by 86% over the course of a year, which is amazing when you think about just letting children know and guiding them to separate their food, to pack zero waste lunches where you're not throwing away single packets, and telling them that they can have an impact on the environment. This third picture is me with a student walking from place to place outside, fresh air. These are some other just scenes of togetherness. The one on the right is a music class, and it is music and movement that they're getting to do those things in a lot of places where music and movement are sort of pushed to the side or perhaps even cut as programs. It is something that all of our children K through 8 engage in. And these 2 are, the one on the right is our Girl Scout troop. These are brownies selling Girl Scout cookies, which always bring joy. So again, this is just a glimpse of what a Bethany School education is about. And certainly we are looking forward to opportunities for our children to branch out and to have more experiences. And as I mentioned earlier, to know about the place where they are. And so I hope that I will be able to, and my team too, will be able to connect with Lincoln Heights residents, and other like-minded folks across the greater Cincinnati area. If there are any questions or anything, please do look over the information. Please share it as well, because one of the things that I constantly have heard about Bethany School is that it is hidden. And one of the things that I'm hopeful is that it will be less hidden and that more people will know about it, more people will experience it, and in particular, our children. So thank you so much for the time and for your attention. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Yes, Ms. Mitchell?
So, how you doing? I'm a product of the Sisters of the Transfiguration. I went to St. Simon's Parochial School, where St. Monica's now is. But I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about it, and if you can speak on it a little bit, is the scholarship opportunities.
Yes. So actually, about 40% of the students at Bethany School receive some sort of financial aid. And it has been a priority for the Sisters of the Transfiguration to not only ensure that we have diversity in terms of race and ethnicity, but also socioeconomic diversity. That means that certainly we offer a great deal of financial aid, and the 40% of the students who do receive financial aid, it varies in the amount, but certainly families who are interested in applying to the school and applying for financial aid, it is a process, and it is a process that our team is always working with families. So the fact that it is available is something that we want to get out there. But we also want folks to sort of know in advance. Right now, we are still enrolling for the current school year, but really in the next month or so, we're going to be looking ahead. We're going to be looking ahead to the 24-25 school year, which is very different for folks who are enrolling. And so getting the word out about that process and starting to begin that process is also important. So
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Vice Mayor Stinson? Oh, you had a question?
I do have some questions, but I'm gonna talk to you separately from this.
Okay. Anyone on this side have any questions?
No questions, Mayor, but I do want to say that both of my children are Bethany School alumni. My daughter went through 8th grade, and my son decided from 6th grade to go to Princeton High School. So I do hear when you say that you make, choices available for students. So we do appreciate that. And now he works at Princeton High School, and he gets to come back and service Bethany through his work in IT. So Bethany is a great school to consider, if the situation fits your family needs. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for a great presentation, and I love where it says respect for people and the world, so that needs to go out to the world. So thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Mitchell hit on my question, just as a father of a 5-year-old, so me and my wife are currently exploring those options. Now, actually, he'll be 5 in August, so it's kind of at that piece there. So, this was informative, and and hopefully our residents have these options and that they be able to leverage their educational opportunities. And if this fits, hopefully, like you said, those scholarship opportunities be available for them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Fiddler, I would like to say my mother, she actually went there years and years and years ago when she first came to Cincinnati from Greenville, South Carolina. So she speaks a lot about the experience that she had there, and she's up in age. So it's wonderful to know that they're celebrating. Did you say 125 years?
Yes, 125 years.
Yeah, that's amazing how long, and they're still standing.
Still standing.
It's in a beautiful location. I know I've driven the backside and noticed it is it at a new gymnasium or building?
So there's an activity center that is fairly recent, but really the 2 newest buildings are the academic buildings. So on Oak Road, when you go on Oak Road, that is the Bethany Activity Center, but you can see the backside of our new dining hall as well. And that building was 2016 And then the LEED Platinum buildings were in 2019 and 2020 respectively.
That's the science, is that a new science building or something that you all had?
This is where all of the children are. The buildings are called Bethel and Bethlehem. And so the way that we remember which building is which is that the little people are in Bethlehem, like baby Jesus, and the bigger kids are in Bethel. But that's where all of our classrooms are. So the self-contained homerooms, as well as the departmental rooms for the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are all in those buildings.
The kindergartners, are they there all day or half a day or?
Kindergartners are there all day.
Well, I know that's exciting for the teachers.
What is the SAS class, the class size? Because when I looked at your 8th graders, I counted them, I think it was 13. And that's how many was in our 8th grade class from St. Simon's. I was like, oh, so
Yeah.
you do have small classes.
There are small classes. That was a class of 15. And so that's also why I want to get the word out, because we have a maximum size of 15 per class, but we have space. And right now, the classes are about averaging 10. And so not the grade level, but the homeroom. And so the distinction is that we're about 20 per grade level and 10 per homeroom.
Anything else? Well, I would like to thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to having further conversation for you, and especially inviting you to our Lincoln High State Parade. That will be September 2nd.
Oh,
So
sure.
we'll be shooting a flyer out to you, and we're looking forward to inviting you to other events. Shakespeare in the Park is coming up, so we would love to see you come out to that, and that's July 15th, as Ms. Mitchell had mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Is your contact information on one of these flyers?
I have cards, and I will have them passed out. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad your desktop looks like mine.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right, so I think we're gonna go ahead and make this motion. Okay, so it looks like we don't have anything from hearing from the residents. Anything, Ms.?
No, Mayor.
Okay, all right. Listed is the regular agenda, but looks like we have a resolution that we'll need to amend the agenda for.
Motion that needs to
I'm
be
gonna come
made.
back to it. I just wanted to go ahead, and since it's listed as the regular agenda, I want to go ahead and just make that motion while we're going into it. Is there a motion to amend the agenda, adding resolution 2023 R30?
Moved.
Second.
It will be under item 11 for new business. It was, what was the,
Second.
I did first.
And then
First.
And then
Vice Mayor.
Vice
And-
Mayor second.
okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that would be number 11. The resolution would be under. Okay, and then we'll go right into communications from there. Communications to council from Clerk of Council, Lisa Randolph.
Yes, Mayor, we have a card that was sent to council. I made a copy for everyone. Excuse me. A great big thanks to all of you. You are so very nice. Your acts of kindness and donations are sincerely appreciated. You blessed us, and I again say thank you. That's from Mrs. Estelle Key and the family. The second announcement is about the self-select pantry that's going to take place tomorrow at St. Monica's. That's Tuesday, June 27th. It starts at 10 a.m. and it will go until all the items are gone. St. Monica's Rec Center address is 122 Chester Road, And they ask that you bring your own bag so that you can put the items in your bags.
What's that time again,
Excuse me.
Ms. Randolph?
Starts at 10 a.m. until everything is gone.
Thank you.
Is that on the
And-
Douglas side?
I'm sorry.
The Douglas side.
It's not on the flyer.
Yeah,
that
so
I
it's the
sent.
Douglas side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Douglas side. Sorry about that. And it's sponsored by Food for the Soul, Valley Interfaith, and St. Monica's Recreation Center. Those are the two announcements that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Communications from the mayor, I don't have anything as of today. And next will be communications from the village solicitor, Deepak Desai.
So I'll be a little brief because we do have a discussion about R30 that I think may be a little involved, and we also have an executive session to discuss employment of a public official. But in the month of the month of June, what I've been focusing on primarily is getting the deed in order for the property that was acquired via the eminent domain action. There is a process where that has to go to the auditor and the treasurer, and some exemptions and stuff have to be taken care of. So we're hoping to get that deed that titles the property in the village's name. Then, of course, we had a bit of an internal matter with our former, sorry, I shouldn't talk and do this at the same time. We had a little internal matter with our administrator, our former administrator, so we were addressing that. And then most recently, we have been in discussions, contract negotiations with Mr. Holbert on the contract for the manager. Then, of course, there are the routine things that we've had, which are the legislation and some of the other internal administrative functions. The final thing I would just note would be the special event grant. That is all squared away as far as council's approval, my review. We have submitted Exhibit B, which is all the insurance requirements to USI for purposes of confirming that we've got the right insurance coverage. I talked to Mr. Beglin. He said that he thinks everything is a go. They do want us to provide some information about liquor. They have I'm going to call it an application. So that's in the hands of Mr. Key. Him and I discussed letting Mr. Holbert go through that and handle that when he comes on board. The idea is that it will help Mr. Holbert get immersed in the event as well, because he'll have to learn about the routes. He'll have to learn about the hours, what the acts are, because these are all questions that are being asked in this application from the insurance company. So those are the highlights for the month. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
No questions? I guess there are no questions. Okay. Motion to accept the oral report from Mr. Desai.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All righty. Next, is there any old business? Okay. If there's no business, there's motion regarding resolution number 2023 R30. What's your pleasure, council?
Since you just got it, if we're going to read it by title, we need a motion to do that. Otherwise, it would be in its entirety. And this may actually be one where we do want to read it in its entirety, because there's going to be some discussion we need to have about it in terms of what we're potentially going to do with this.
Can we
We're
motion
not
to
trying to
pass it tonight, right? We just, for information purposes.
Well, as I mentioned at our last meeting, that's when I gave the presentation on it. This is the insurance that would be substituted for the bonds. And I'd mentioned that at the last meeting, I was going to introduce legislation at this meeting. So Obviously it's council's will, but the plan was that it was going to be voted on tonight. And it's germane to Mr. Holberg because we need to know whether we go left or we go right. So, but anyway, let's start with the basics. Can we maybe have a motion to read it by its entirety?
So moved. So moved. Read by title only.
Nope, I'd like the motion that we read it in
That's
its
fine.
entirety.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I just knew we had to put that first before it just stopped through. So do I need to rescind my motion?
No, I mean, and actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little out of line. If somebody only wanted to read it by title, then we would need that motion. But otherwise, we can just forego the motion and we're going to read it by entirety by
Okay,
default.
then yeah, then.
Because
I
council just got it. My apologies on that. I didn't mean to confuse you.
I definitely rescind my motion. So I second your motion, Vice Mayor, if nobody else did, to read it entirety.
So, Ms. Randolph, would you be all right with me reading this?
No problem.
Don't we have to do a roll call on the motion?
No, there's no motion. So because you just got it, it's going to be read by its entirety.
Okay.
So it's Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, resolution number 23-R-30, a resolution authorizing the village to purchase and use employee dishonesty and faithful performance of duty policy through the public entity pool instead of individual surety bonds for officials, employees, and appointees who are otherwise required by law to acquire a bond before entering upon the discharge of duties. Whereas the Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, is a member of the Public Entities Pool, which will be referred to as PEP moving forward, PEP, PEP, a political subdivision risk pool established pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 2744.081, and whereas House Bill 291 was signed into law on December 20th, 2018 and became effective March 20th, 2019, and whereas HB 291 authorizes political subdivisions to use an employee dishonesty and faithful performance of duty policy instead of individual surety bonds for officials, employees, and appointees who are otherwise required by law to acquire a bond before entering upon the discharge of duties, and whereas political subdivisions includes counties, townships, and municipal corporations including villages and cities, and whereas Ohio Revised Code Section 3.061 requires political subdivisions to pass a resolution to allow the use of the policy rather than a surety bond to cover loss by fraudulent or dishonest actions of officials, employees, and appointees, or failure of said individuals to faithfully perform duties. And whereas the following shall apply to the policy, an official, employee, or appointee shall be considered qualified to hold the office or employment without acquiring bond on the date the oath of office is taken, certified, and filed as required by law. Number 2, an official, employee, or appointee shall have the policy in effect before the individual's term of office or employment, and the official, employee, or appointee shall not commence the discharge of duties until coverage is documented. Number 3, all officials, employees, or appointees who would otherwise be required to file a bond before commencing the discharge of duties shall be covered by and are subject to the policy instead of a surety bond requirement. Number 4, the coverage amount for an official, employee, or appointee under the policy shall be equal to or greater than the maximum amount of the bond otherwise required by law. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council for the Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, that, Section 1, the village is hereby authorized and directed to purchase and use the policy through PEP instead of individual surety bonds for officials, employees, and appointees who are otherwise required by law to acquire a bond before entering upon the discharge of duties. Section 2, the amount of coverage under the policy purchased through PEP shall be $100,000. Section 3, the interim manager is hereby authorized and directed to complete and submit an application to PEP for the policy. Section 4, this resolution is hereby declared to be an emergency measure necessary for the health, safety, and general welfare of the Village of Lincoln Heights. The reason for said emergency is the need to protect the village's finances. So I know that's a lot, but in a nutshell, what is being offered to the village is the ability to move away from individual bonds for people, which are subject to credit checks, background checks. So if somebody's got a poor credit rating, they either can't get bonded or they can only get bonded to a very low amount. And right now, nobody in the village is bonded above $25,000. Or number two, they can't get bonded at all, or there's a very, very, very high premium that is charged. So what this policy offers is you don't worry about the bonds at all. Those go out the window. Instead, you basically add this faithful performance endorsement to the crime policy the village already has. And then the policy covers by positions, regardless of who is in that position. And if somebody moves in and moves out, it doesn't matter because the policy is covering whoever's handling the tax administrator position, whoever's handling the clerk of court position, etc. So it's a way to cover the position, not have to go get a new bond every time somebody comes in, and then not tie the bond to an individual's background and credit history. The other advantage to it, and the reason I really was interested in looking into this, is the coverage amount. We can purchase, in theory, whatever amount we want. According to Mr. Beglin, the majority of the jurisdictions, I'm sorry, it's not any amount, but you can go up to 250,000, so $250,000. He said a majority of the jurisdictions are at 100,000. So I wrote the legislation for 100,000. That can be changed. He does have a few that are 250,000. But that's what interested me because in our general fund, there are times when there are hundreds of thousands of dollars in the general fund. And at that point, $25,000 doesn't provide you a whole lot of reimbursement. So here we can go 100,000, 150, 200, 250 and get a lot more coverage than what we have under the bonds. Now, there is a price difference. The bonds run $75 per person per year. So if we had 10 people, we have $750 that we're spending a year. This endorsement for $100,000 coverage will run about $2,100. So there is a significant increase, but that's total, not per position, that's total. So there is definitely a cost factor to be considered.
Regardless of the number of employees or?
Regardless of the number of people that are covered. And I did ask Mr. Beglin to let me know who was covered, and so I can provide that information here. Go to a different screen. Okay, so currently we have 5 people bonded. Mr. Christopher Williams, Mr. John Key, Miss Lisa Randolph, Miss Dolores Peterson, and Miss Vicki Bowers. They're all bonded at $25,000. So 75, what, times 10, 750. So it's about $375 that the village is currently paying. So this would raise it from that to the approximately $2,100. So again, there is a significant cost difference. I guess in my thinking, I didn't know that $2,100 was so outrageous that the protection wouldn't be worth considering. So that's it in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, well, I'm sorry, let me add one other thing. Mr. Beglin said that as soon as if it's council's will to do this, as soon as the resolution is passed, we fill out what is a very simple 2-page application, and we send the resolution with that application, he said coverage goes into effect within 24 hours. Yes, sir.
Maybe because I just bought a car, but because I'm in like that used car mode. But what are the cons? Because you hit us with all the pros, but what are the cons?
The main con is the cost.
Okay,
That's the
main
only.
con.
That's the only one that he brought out, and I talked to him twice. I talked to him on May 25th, and I talked to him again on June 6th. So the cons that he told me are just the cost. The other thing that he did mention is, let me see if I wrote this down so I don't have to try to recreate it. Okay, he said it covers findings by the auditor of state. And he said one of the differences is on the back end. He said under a bond, even if it was an honest mistake, the bonding company has the right to attach the personal assets of the person bonded. However, he said that, I just lost it, where was that? I'm sorry, I lost it. Give me a second. Oh, so he said if it was a mistake, he said they're not going to go after. If it was an honest mistake, they're not going to go after the person.
If you're bonded.
No.
they're saying
Under the
this-
faithful
this
performance
won't.
policy.
So, and if I'm speaking, excuse me, Madam Mayor, because okay,
Yes,
right.
go ahead.
If I'm speaking out of line, Deepak, please stop me, because I'm trying to make sure I believe we spoke about this around the table, but I'm not going to mention anybody's names. We recently had a discussion about a similar bonded issue, and it seemed like it was a mistake, though. It was like a personal mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, under this, then it wouldn't have been after going after and pretty much what the situation was with that former employee. Under this one, it wouldn't have been going to get those damages.
As
correct?
far as the insurance carrier is concerned.
Okay.
So when there's a bond, what Mr. Beglin was basically saying is it doesn't matter if you're like, hey, man, I didn't know. That was a mistake. Doesn't matter. We're still going to attach your personal assets.
Okay.
Whereas under the policy, if it's clearly a mistake,
Yeah.
they're not going to go after them. What he said is if it was a crime, then they would go after them.
But they would still, just want to make sure I hear you correctly, they would still make us whole, but they won't personally go after the individual.
The insurance carrier.
Yeah.
Now, the auditor is still going to, in theory, the auditor is still going to ask us to go after them.
Okay.
And if we don't go after them, they're going to turn it over to the Attorney General.
Okay.
And in theory, the Attorney General is going to go after them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank
they're two different entities doing different things.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, that makes it. No, that helps. That helps.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Desai, for that information, because I see that it was discussed in the last council meeting. But looking at it today, do we, and I appreciate you for giving the information that you received back and forth from whoever, I forgot the name, who you were speaking to. But if council is responsible for making this authorization, because I see there's no sponsor here, so I thought maybe it would come from the village manager's office, but when I don't see a sponsor here, it's council's responsibility to make this decision. So that's my first question, or who typically makes this decision on who or which insurance we have. That's my first question. And my second question is, I'd like to see the comparisons between the two, because although you're giving us the high level of what the comparisons are, if it's our decision to make, I'd like to be a little bit more informed on what's the best decision. Because when I look at our staff, sounds like everybody is covered under the current policy, but at $25,000. So I recognize that. And I look at future staff, is there, do we look at perhaps raising the $25,000? I don't see an issue with bonding someone if someone is not credit worthy. I don't necessarily see an issue with not being able to bond them or not being able to hire them or not being able to maintain their employment here in the village based on that. I'm not saying that's my final decision, but I don't see that as an issue, I guess. So I wouldn't see that as a weight as to whether or not I would shift over to another insurance carrier to be able to then insure someone whose credit worthiness is not up to speed. Does that make sense? I'm not being disparaging to anyone or to any employee, but I don't see that as a weighing factor to say, oh, let's go over here because we may hire somebody that doesn't have the credit worthiness, and this will allow us to do so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the other thing though to note is that it's the downtime, the donut holes or the gaps that you have. So like we hire Mr. Holbert, we're not going to have him bonded when he starts because he's going to have to fill out an application. It's going to have to go through underwriting. So that's the other advantage to it, is that you're not constantly scrambling when people are moving around to get the new person bonded.
And I hear you. I get it. But I would really like to be able to actually make that decision based on all the pros and cons that I can see before me. And I'm kind of heard Mr. Daniels a little bit. We talk about the pros. There's a lot of pros. What are the cons? What are the downsides? And if there is a time, how long does it take? I don't know how long it takes to get somebody bonded. I really don't know. So I don't want to make I don't want to make a decision or a vote on something that I'm not fully understanding what it is that we're looking at, that we're making a decision. And it seems like, yeah, we want to make the decision now, you know. And no, I don't think $2,100 a year is a bad cost for what sounds like what we're going to get. But I just want to make sure that I'm making a very educated decision based on the information that's before me. And as of right now, I don't have a lot of information before me to feel comfortable with making that decision.
Ms. Mitchell?
So do we just have to cover every employee? I mean, in the past, we've only done those who handled money. So is this for everybody?
No, it would be basically those positions that I enumerated.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but they don't all handle money.
Plus the
so-
manager.
Okay, but I'm saying they don't handle money, so we're talking about everybody. I'm saying in the past, we've just done, you know, those in the finance office and the manager and maybe the administrative assistant. So I'm saying I don't ever recall
The tax- I
bonding
think
the
the tax-
clerk of council because money wasn't handled. Yes, the clerk of courts, but,
Yeah.
so
clerk
we're
of-
looking at everybody. You're looking at,
Yeah, so I think it would be the manager, the finance director, the tax administrator, the clerk of court, and then from there, I think it's whoever else might handle money.
right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why I was just asking, because I know that the clerk of council doesn't usually handle money. But, okay. But she's listed. She's listed. I mean, you stated her name, that's.
Yeah, he said that, we have a bond
And
on
then
her.
Chris, but he doesn't handle money. So, I mean, I was just,
I'm not sure
okay.
why they bonded him, but
okay.
That might be why.
yeah.
Because they
Say
make
what?
purchases. Because they make purchases. And sometimes they may have the card.
Oh, okay.
If he's spending $13,000 to go get a car fixed, I think he should be.
Yeah,
And if we're
okay.
training, and she's helping out in finance, then she would need to be bonded as well.
Yeah,
Don't we cross-train around here?
yeah, we do. We
Okay, I'm
do.
just asking because, you know, just based on what it's been the past, so, and,
Yeah. I mean, I think the more people covered, the better, quite frankly.
yeah, I agree, but I'm just asking, make sure I understand.
Oh, yes.
My hand is tired, yeah. A question to Mr. Desai. Are other municipalities going from the bond to this?
He didn't give me a stat to say out of 100 municipalities, 80 are doing this. He did say that this is what he's recommending to all his municipal clients when they ask him is get rid of the bonds, just do the faithful performance.
Councilman Days, did you have anything?
Actually, we kind of spoke it out in conversation. I hope Miss Lisa was able to get that because we kind of just chatted back and forth. But no, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Madam Mayor, just
Yes, ma'am.
another question. Is there a time limit? So I understand the manager's position, so I understand that. But is there, could we do it later? Do we have to do it now? Or, like, it looks like the bill, of course, was signed in 2019, making it available for municipalities to be able to do this type of insurance pooling or what have you. So I understand that, but is it just because we're getting ready to hire a new village manager the reason why we're looking to push this through today?
This is why I learned about it, because it was a couple meetings ago, maybe an executive session, someone said, hey, look into the bonding of the manager. And so I reached out to Rob Beglin, and then he brought this to my attention. And I said, oh, well, that's something I didn't know about, and I'll bring it to council. Timing-wise, my understanding is that we can do it at any time. However, we would then, when Mr. Holbert comes in, and probably this week we would start the process, because he's required to be bonded under Ohio law, we would start the bonding process.
Do we know, last question for me, do we know how long it takes for the current bond system that we have, or bond opportunity that we have, or that we use? Do we know how long that process takes?
My hunch, and I don't have a specific recollection of a timeline, but my hunch is it takes a couple weeks.
Okay, because I don't know. I guess this is the first time that I've seen legislation like this before me, so I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and I mean, we could, if council wants, we could just hold off on making Mr. Holbert a signer on the account, so that, until council's ready to make a decision, we don't need to, well, see, technically, though, we're supposed to bond him under Ohio law. So if we started the bonding process, I mean, we're not committing to it, right? We're just starting the process. We're getting a quote. So we could always change train tracks, I guess, at that point. And then so we could say we're complying with Ohio law because we started the bonding process. I wouldn't want to play that out too long.
Right, I agree.
I would think by July 10th meeting, we'd want to make a decision. Which is the first meeting in July. And then just hold off until then to make him a signer on the account.
Would it be possible to get that information about our current program and the process and how long it takes, those sort of things, and the new proposed program? Would it be possible to get that sent to us?
I think he has a standard brochure letter on this policy. I don't know about the bonds. I can ask him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, are we going to do just first reading on this, or what's the pleasure?
I mean, it's up to, we've done our first reading. So if somebody wants to push this forward tonight, there would be a motion to suspend. If not, then it just waits until the next meeting. Yeah, I read it in its entirety. Yeah. All right, let me read it again.
Like the vote, that's what
Madam
we used to
Mayor,
that.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
That'll be July
just real
10th.
quick, and I apologize, Mr. Desai, just for clarification purposes. So we would be in pretty much in compliance, correct? Like if we push through the process, as you said, from a bonding perspective, but then if we wanted to make a decision if council then chooses to make a decision, we're fine. So we are kind of allowed just a little bit of a gap because we're still pushing through, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I guess somebody can make a technical argument that
Yeah.
the manager is not supposed to enter upon his duties until he's bonded.
Fully bonded. So even then, we would have to wait until his actual those 2 weeks, as Councilwoman Key alluded to, before he can actually do anything.
I mean, I tend to take a real practical approach with this stuff, which is we're not going to let you sign on the bank account, you know? So, I don't know, there might be $20 in petty cash floating around the manager's office, but other than that, you can't get into our accounts. And that's, you know, that's the practical approach. Technically, should he be bonded before he sits down in that chair? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So it doesn't sound like anybody wants to make a motion to suspend, so I think we've got a first reading, and then it'll come back up at the July 10th meeting for a second reading. And in the meantime, I'll endeavor to get the information.
And would you also check to see if there are other municipalities that are doing this?
I'll ask him, you know, if he could maybe tell us in Hamilton County who's doing it. Okay.
And then one other thing for me is this the only insurance public entities pool? I think there's other organizations that we can use as well, right? Did we
Oh.
hear about?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't say that we're gonna switch. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, but there's other options that are available.
Yeah, typically they're more expensive,
Okay,
which is why we historically have been in the public
Right here.
entity pool.
okay,
Sometimes we, you know, because, you know, like with what happened with the police department, the public entity pool would no longer insure them, and so we had to go to a, you know, a different line.
right.
But typically, we try to do everything within the public entity pool. The whole idea behind it, you know, when it was authorized by statute, was to try to create a pooled insurance group that brings premiums down
Okay.
for everybody.
Thank you.
So I have a question, to make sure I understand. So when Mr. Holbert starts, he will not be bonded, or does he automatically get bonded under the bonding process we currently have?
He
for
does not
75? He will
automatic-
not be bonded?
I don't know. I can check with Mr.
We need
Key
to
to
check
see
and
if,
see
if anything's in the works. But my understanding is that, you know, that process takes a little while. And since, you know, it's only been a week since he was motioned to be the manager, I'd be surprised. But maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised and it's in process.
Okay, so there's no time frame that someone has to be bonded?
Well,
in terms of their
again,
position for compliance?
under Ohio law, you're supposed to be bonded before you enter upon what they call the discharge of your duties. And I think the practical way that we deal with that is just not to make him a signer until either the policy's in place or the bond's in place.
Okay. So there's no consent agenda, and there's no supplemental agenda. Next would be number 14.
Yeah, I think for executive session, motion would be in order to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a public official.
Can we do other motions before we do that?
Yes. Well, I was gonna put in miscellaneous of business, because it's not on the consent agenda or the, but you can go ahead and do that. She normally isn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a motion to accept the May finance statement.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I have another motion I'd like to make, Mayor. A motion to approve the tax budget for the 2024 year as presented.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Mayor, I have one last, just one more that I'd like to make.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize and direct the solicitor to file for injunction relief in the Hamilton County Courts against businesses operating within the village of Lincoln Heights without a business license.
Oh, second.
You second that? It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, that was 3. Any opposed?
No opposed. I just had a point of clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to make sure that we saw what the process is going to be for that. Because the motion is very specific for the solicitor to file injunctions against all. So if we're open to having that process identified and written out how that will take place, I'm okay. Otherwise, he's being directed to file an injunction against all businesses who does not have a business license. Is that what we are looking for?
Vice Mayor?
If I think that I know what she's asking, I think that he would go to our tax administrator and get the list from our tax administrator and go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, I did moved and seconded. That did all in favor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. Next would be number 14.
Yeah, executive session.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Oh, goodness, I think I have another motion that we go into executive session to discuss employment
Of a public.
of a public official.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Roll call?
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Yes.
Councilman Dwight Daniels.
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key.
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 6 aye votes. The motion does pass.
We'll be back, Miss Lisa. You ain't got to.
The Village of Lincoln Heights Council meeting is now back in session. Today's date, Monday, June 28th, time 9:52. Roll call.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Present.
Councilman Durant Daniels,
Present.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Present.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Present.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Present.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Present.
We have 6 who are present. We do have a quorum.
Mayor, can I make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion for the solicitor and the mayor to move forward with finalizing the contract with Mr. Holbert.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilman Durant Daniels,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes?
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey. We have
Yes.
6 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Any miscellaneous business? If there's no miscellaneous business, motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second?
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night.
Good night.